Yesterday, President Trump announced, quote, a total and complete, unquote, blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela. Another dangerous escalation with no clear plan whatsoever. Donald Trump has offered precisely zero explanation, zero, to the American people for what he's trying to accomplish in the Caribbean. Most Senate Republicans, meanwhile, appear to have no interest in doing any congressional oversight in a serious way of the administration's military buildup. We've had no serious public congressional hearings on the threat of military conflict off the coast of Venezuela, no public testimony from defense officials on this issue. Where are Senate Republicans? Where's the oversight? The purpose of hearings is to challenge an administration when it may well be going off course, and they certainly seem to be going off course in Venezuela. Donald Trump talks one way, then another. I've asked some of our leaders, where is the limit to how far they will go? No answer. Could this be getting us into an endless war? The American people fear that above most other things, maybe all things. That's why we need oversight, and the Senate Republicans are nowhere. Meanwhile, the briefing we had yesterday with Secretary Rubio and Hegseth was utterly disappointing. The administration walked into the room totally empty-handed. They gave us no real answers about what the objective is in the Caribbean. Hegseth also refused to give senators full access to the video of the September 2nd strikes. The same lack of transparency that's affecting the September 2nd video is affecting our whole policy in the Caribbean and with Venezuela. No oversight, no plan, no discussion with either the Senate, the House, or the American people. That's what leads to trouble, big trouble. Let's be very clear. Donald Trump does not have the authority to use military force to carry out his current plans in the Caribbean without authorization from Congress. If Trump acts without congressional authorization, the Senate stands ready with a bipartisan resolution led by Senator Kaine, myself, Senators Paul and Schiff, preventing the unauthorized use of force.
Doesn't matter. Donald Trump keeps testing us to see just how much he can get away with, threatening now a land invasion in Venezuela and even seizing an oil tanker off its coast. Now, if this was solely about stopping drug traffickers, I don't think there'd be disagreement or objection here to a law enforcement-based approach to do exactly that. Of course, we want to stop drug trafficking, but the Trump administration seemingly can't decide if it wants to be crime fighters or warmongers. And they've decided to use the United States military to bomb their way through the Caribbean either way. And that's the larger point here. Donald Trump wants unchallenged use of the military to achieve his every whim and every grievance, even when it means violating our international norms, betraying our allies, and violating the Constitution. How is that going to make us any safer? If we can't be trusted in Europe, and if we're manufacturing conflicts in Central or South America, who would want to work with us in the future? And if the United States won't respect international law, why should we expect other countries to do so?
Mr. President, our colleagues in the House of Representatives have passed this year's National Defense Authorization Act, and we are about to follow suit. This will be the 65th year in a row, the 65th consecutive year that Congress has come together across the aisle and across two chambers to send the President a bill designed to sustain and strengthen the national defense. This NDAA helps us align the priorities of the U.S. military with the threats of today, and they are serious threats from the People's Republic of China and the entire axis of aggressors that it leads and partners with. It makes war fighting a top priority of the department, and it reinforces a culture of merit in the armed forces. Service members will receive a 3.8% pay raise. We expanded initiatives that will reinforce President Trump's recruiting surge and we supercharged our efforts to rebuild the American defense industrial base. And let me talk about that for a moment. This legislation reforms decades of bureaucratic inefficiency in the Pentagon's acquisition process. I thank them all, and I thank this House, and I thank this Senate and our friends in the House for coming together in a spirit of patriotism and comity to get this very important quantum leap in our defense accomplished. With that said, let's begin the vote and take the next step to rebuild America's national defense.
The yeas are 77, the nays are 20. The motion to concur in the House amendment to S. 1071 is agreed to.
Amid drug crackdown claims, the oil is back on the table. US President Donald Trump is turning up the heat, demanding that Venezuela return billions in seized American oil assets. Years ago, US companies lost their stakes. Now Trump says, enough. His response? A renewed threat of a blockade. Oil tankers traveling to or from Venezuela now face American sanctions. This is pressure politics. A months-long campaign aimed straight at Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The White House cites lost investments and accusations of drug trafficking as justification for the crackdown. And the message is already landing. Some sanctioned tankers are turning away. Right now,
is the goal of the blockade with Venezuela to regime change?
It's a blockade. Not going to let anybody going through that should be going through. You remember they took all of our energy rights. They took all of our oil from not that long ago, and we want it back. But they took it. They illegally took it.
For decades, American oil ruled Venezuela. US companies dominated the fields until Caracas took control. First in the 1970s, then again in the 21st century, under Hugo Chavez and Nicolás Maduro. Washington called the compensation insufficient, and in 2014, an international arbitration panel delivered a verdict. Venezuela was ordered to pay $1.6 billion to ExxonMobil. Oil has always shaped US-Venezuela relations, but now, the Trump administration says this is about more than money. The focus, drug trafficking. Donald Trump accuses the Maduro government of using oil profits to fund dangerous drugs flowing into the United States. In a late-night social media post on December 16th, Trump said Venezuela's oil is fueling crime. And the response is already underway. Last week, US forces seized an oil tanker off Venezuela's coast, all amid a massive military buildup, including the Navy's most advanced aircraft carrier. At the same time, US strikes on suspected drug boats across the Caribbean Sea and the Eastern Pacific. At least 95 people killed. Now, lawmakers and legal experts are asking, what's the legal justification? And President Trump says he's considering the next step. Strikes on land. Oil, drugs, power. A confrontation that's no longer just economic and may no longer stay at sea.